if you're over 6 feet high, you either need to be working from a ladder, scaffolding, OSHA-approved scaffolding built correctly, or, there's scenarios that we have with roofers and framers, for example, that tie off. So if you're putting shutters on a house, just trying to think of some scenarios where you guys would be over 6 foot. So we don't allow any work on our job over 6 feet without being protected. Hard hats, number 3, are to be worn at all times. It says one exception, and that's when you're inside the trap fence. My other exception is, if you're lunch or break or whatever, sitting down. Eye protection on number 4. It says for anybody that uses compressed air, operates nail guns, staplers, saws. Do you guys know anybody who uses that kind of stuff? All right. So safety glasses, right? I mean, safety glasses are, it's one of those things where, it's just a split second, right? And you've got the scenario that changes your life forever. And you guys have all been in the industry. You've probably seen it happen, right? Where somebody gets something on their eye and it's not a good story. Number 5 is material safety data sheet. So we don't have like those big books on site anymore that, have 1,000, pages of information about, pneumatic nail gun oil and what happens if you drink that. We don't have that anymore. But, John, you don't have your hard hat, right? Anyway, we have a 1-800 number now that we just call. So what we would need is if you get, you ingest something. Everybody knows what MSDS are, material safety data sheets. So if you were to get, whatever, gun oil or something in your eyes or something bad like that, and you needed to know what the fix is, you can come to any one of our team. But what we need is really the name of the product. So it's best to bring, whatever the bottle of it, or say, here, we'll call that 1-800 number and they'll send us the information right away. So that's MSDS. Hearing protection. I don't usually go into this whole thing, but this is kind of I do like the word here. It says if the background noise is loud enough to require speaking with a raised voice from 3 feet away, the noise level is probably over 85 decibels, and that's what OSHA recommends that you wear hearing protection. So, you guys are sawing and nailing and stuff like that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and tell my bulletproof story, right? So, like John, I grew up in the trades. I was actually a painter. But prior to that, I was in the military. And I drove an armored personnel carrier. And at the time, I was like, 18, 19, 20. Of course, you're bulletproof, right? So I drove this armored personnel carrier, and I sat right next to this big Detroit diesel motor that just howled like a banshee, right? And drove it with my helmet, hanging open, bugs in my teeth kind of thing. I can't think it probably rides a Harley. So here it is, 20 years later, and I have to turn like this, so I can hear out of my left ear if my wife or my kids are talking to me, right? So you might think you're bulletproof, but anyway, I mean, take a little precaution. Just that's mine. I don't give a whole bunch of advice, a lot of expectations, but not a whole bunch of advice, because I've done a lot of things wrong. And if I can use an example of something that I've done wrong, well, then I'm going to use it, and this is one of them. So take the precautions, the safety glasses, the things that seem small. It's that little things matter, right? I said that before on the previous page. It's the little things that matter. Okay. Proper footwear. So I've kind of alluded to that whole room full of tennis shoes here. We do require work shoes on the site. So you could ask me a bunch of questions about what work shoes mean and all that. And if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you to wear work boots to the job site. And this is one of the things I'm saying today. Sign my paper. Wear the right kind of shoes to the job tomorrow. Everybody's agreeing with that. No problem? Okay. Number 8 is no less than a short sleeve shirt. Number 9, no glass containers. Number 10 is about parking, and it's about driving. I personally feel like this is one of the most hazardous things on our job site, parking and driving. Because, everybody now with SWIPs and dust, nobody can park in the dirt, so everybody parks in the street, everybody's lined up and rowed up and, parked incorrectly and ass ends hanging out and, parked the wrong direction and everybody's tight together, and you gotta walk across the street to go to the J. John or whatever. I mean, you're probably taking your life in your own hand. That's what I really fear for my own team, because they do so much work out in the street, walking from house to house, and I really want them to be vigilant. And, you know, this says 11 miles an hour. I think that's it probably ought to be 6, right, miles an hour. Anyway, just, you know, try to park your vehicle legally in front of the home, which means, you know, face in the right direction. And, you know, and I'm telling you, take some precaution yourself. Do not walk out between the vehicles without looking both ways and all that stuff. That, I mean, you could get, that would be such a bad story.
What about parking on the, crossing the curb and on the lot? Is that okay?
With a vehicle?
With the vehicle? Okay, I'm just seeing.
No, that goes with the OSHA, or that goes with the whole switch, stuff sling.
That's what I thought.
So, okay. Number 11 is maintain your tools in good condition. When's a good time to inspect your tools? That's the perfect answer. When you put them away. Because if there's something wrong with it, the last thing you want to discover is that the next morning, first thing when you drag it out, right? Pretty much replaced. Tools are to be used for the purpose intended. These next two, 13 and 14, can almost go hand in hand. And basically, I'd say by the second part of number 14, it says, all occupants of vehicles must have a seat and a seat belt. That takes care of both. If you can sit in a seat and wear a belt, then that's probably legal. If you can't, then no riding, that other stuff. Number 15 is flammable, so fuel must be in approved cans. So no plastic gas cans, you know, they need to have that self-closing lid with the spark arrestor thing in it. 16, heavy lifts get help and not hurt. Again, this is kind of the ounce of prevention thing, you know, bulletproof. We've only had one injury so far this year from a America team member, and it's a back injury from lifting a big roll of carpet and trying to throw it away. So, this, I mean, I can't remind people enough to, including myself. I mean, John and I could tell you stories about the stupid stuff that we do at home, and then we have to come and tell the whole group what stupid stuff we did while we're changing our mindset, right? And John and I have got some pretty doozy stories. Okay, number 17, no fighting policy. I don't know, it's been a long time since I've seen any silliness like that on a job, so. I'm going to skip number 18, and I'm going to go down to that second to last paragraph. Says these general rules. So these are general rules. They're not intended to serve as the, you know, total list, right? I haven't told you about ladder safety, and I haven't told you about nail gun safety. You guys are professional trim carpenters, and you know way more about that than I do. I'm sure you have, you know, training built in your own program here with Glenn, and outside folks where you do ladder training and all the right kind of stuff, right? So these are just minimum standards of things that we're talking about on our job site, but there's the whole list of OSHA rules that, you know, like I said, use the ladders correctly, all of that stuff applies. It's not written here, but I mean, to me, it's a lot just about common sense, right? And unfortunately, common sense is not so common, right, anymore.
Not always dished out in the same quantities technically.
Right, and I'm sure you guys see a lot of that, right, when you're out there working in the field, and, you know, you see some of that stuff where you're like, oh my gosh. Well, anyway, like I said before, now you're part of my team accountability team, you know, so you're not going to be able to just say, oh shit, and walk away and not look at it. So we're going to talk more about that. All right, this last paragraph is the right to refuse unsafe work. So I need everybody to just hear me very, very clearly on this, okay? It says if there's a condition that arises and you feel unsafe, or if you've been asked to perform a task or act unsafe, that you have the right to stop. And I'm going to say you have more than the right. With this Good to Go program today, it's your duty